clicking all black, we all tux. Tell my ex-bitch give me space. Elon Musk, ayy, streams got my Q4 looking nice. My VR clutch, acting like you seen this right here. You big all sus, yeah. I just doubled up on crypto. I just doubled down on the new vest.
What is up, my friends? We are jumping back into another Modern League match. We are playing against currently an unknown opponent, but if you've watched the intro to this video, you likely already know what we're playing against. A little note with this video, I've mentioned in a couple of my past videos as well. Made some changes to today's list. 4 Thoughtseize in the sideboard. Moved a Grist to the main deck, cut an Eldritch Evolution from the main deck, and we're also running 2 Boseiju, which that hasn't changed, but that's just something new that's of note. We are playing against a Lurrus deck, which is not a surprise. Cat seems to be everywhere. Our opener seems pretty strong, especially if this is something. It doesn't seem pretty strong. It's okay. It's a little slow, but I think against something like a Death Shadow deck, this should be fine. So we're going to keep it and see where it goes. We're on the draw right now, and see how this pans out. I mean, we have all of our best cards. It's just a matter of will we have time to cast them. So we will see. If we're playing against something like Burn, we might be in trouble. It's to be determined. Alright, so it looks like a Mill. We haven't played against Mill yet, so this is good. Alright, so our hand lines up pretty well against Mill. Seeing as how we have an Endurance in our opener, which is easily the best card in the matchup. Grist is also really, really strong, so I think just based on our opener, we're in pretty good shape. The other thing is our mana doesn't require us to search our deck, which is an important consideration. Their trap card, Archive Trap, it hits for free if you search your deck, and because we're not doing that, this hand lines up pretty well. So I need to be sure to not F6 through my turns as well, because I may need to Endurance in response to things. So we're going to be conscious of that. And this matchup is a very good matchup for Yawgmoth, at least the blue-black version. I'm not 100% sure about the blue-white version, but we will see. Alright, there's an Endurance in the graveyard. Let's see if they try to hit it with a Surgical or something like that. I'm not 100% sure what's in these blue-white lists as opposed to blue-black lists. I would imagine there's no Drown in the Lock, so they're running something for a counter spell. It's not clear to me what it is. We also have a Grist in the graveyard, so 2 of our best cards are in the yard. So we need to be conscious to play around anything that would potentially remove them from the game. Their best card against us is probably Tasha's Hideous Laughter. It's powerful. Alright, so here... Alright, so we can develop out our mana further and try to play a Yawgmoth next turn. Or we can just play out a Grist and start upticking that. And I think, once again, I don't know what they have for their counter suite. I would imagine they're just running regular counter spell. They're leaving their mana open. I'm going to develop my mana a little bit more. See if they counter this. And then, so there's a consideration the way I tap my mana here. I could use the Wall of Roots to cast a Birds of Paradise, and that would leave me the ability to hard cast Endurance during my turn. The thing is I don't know if I actually want to hard cast Endurance, because putting it back into my deck affords me the ability to use it over and over and over again. So even though I could do that, I'm not sure I want to do that. I'm just going to cast out the bird like this. So next turn we're in a position where we can cast 2 spells in the turn. We could also chord for something. We can Endurance and then chord with the Endurance. Let's see what they're doing here. Alright. A lot of draw go on our opponent's part, which to me suggests counter spells in hand. I'd be a lot happier if this bird was a hierarch, at least prior to that draw. Now I think we're going to try to double Geist this turn. Like I said, I think they're holding up counters, so I don't want to Okay, so there's a counter spell. Of note, we have 34 cards left in our deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So during their turn, we can Chord of Calling for an Endurance, or for a Grist, which I think we might do. Alright, Tasha's is pretty good. Alright, we're down to 15 cards left in our deck. We have 13 creatures here. Okay. And they have 3 cards in hand. We still have another Grist in the deck, so I could search for it. But then if they have an Archive Trap and a counter spell, I just lose, so I don't want to do that. The question is, do we play out Yawgmoth here, or do we play out Grist? I think Grist is a more immediate path to victory, so I think we're going to try that. Alright, Grist resolves, that's good. So next question, do we get rid of the crab, or do we uptick? I think we uptick. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. We have 1, 2, 3. All right, so we don't have any more Yawgmoths in our deck, which is notable. Life doesn't really matter, so we'll take the hit. Just based on the fact that they did not counter the Grist, I might just hard cast this Endurance now. think I'm going to cast it now. See if they have a counter spell. Okay. So we bought ourselves some time here. And I will yield through the turn. Alright, so we got 33 cards in our library. One creature in our graveyard. They have Lurrus in their hand. Let's see if they cast out the Lurrus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I'm gonna save the second chord, or save this chord for an endurance if we need it. I have to give all the credit in the world to people who stream. Being able to concentrate on the game and concentrate on being able to speak to people is very challenging. It's not easy. All right, so I am going to lead on Yawgmoth. See if they have a counter for that. Okay, and I think we're gonna try to kill this crab here. Burning Catacombs is not great. Only because I don't want to be searching my library. I realize we're essentially milling ourselves by drawing cards here, but we need to start dealing some serious damage. Alright, so if they don't have a counter, we just win. Searching our library might be risky though. I don't know if we want to do that. We can kind of leave it in our back pocket if need be, and see if that gets us there. All right, we got the Blood Artist, so let's go with that. Let's swing with the team. See if this is good enough to get there. I'm gonna let them initiate. See what they do here. Okay, them doing that, I'm just gonna pull the trigger here. They don't want to scoop. So right now we're demonstrating our loop, which is not infinite because we have a limited number of cards in our deck, but it is usually enough to drain our opponent's life total from whatever it was to 0. So as you'll see, Yawgmoth targets an undying creature with a counter on it. You sacrifice another undying creature to the ability. Blood Artist triggers. The undying trigger happens, bringing the creature that died back into play, and you remove the 1/1 counter from the creature that had one, and you can just cycle that through over and over and over again. so that's a good draw. So usually in this matchup, you're not winning in this fashion. It's more of like just beatdown. But sometimes it does get there. All right, so we're up a game against Mill, which is good. Game 1's usually the hardest game because you only have 2 endurance in the deck. Game 2, we're going to board up in cards, so we're not going to be submitting a 60 card deck. We're going to be submitting something closer to like 65 cards. So that is of note. I think we bring in one of those. Let me just check our sideboard guide here, which is linked in the description below. We also have a new version, which is deck box size, so it's on one page front and back. You can print it out and stick it in your deck box if this is the deck you choose to play at a tournament. Mill. Okay, so 2 endurance, 1 crime punishment, 1 necromentia, Thoughtseize, Thrun, and Grist. We already have the Grist in the deck, so that's good. 1 wolf, 1 wall, 1 Evo. So we're on the draw, so we're going to board up to 66 cards on the draw. Hopefully our mana cooperates here. Let's see. Feels weird submitting a 66 card deck, but that's what you got to do. Alright, so this hand is not great. Against Mill, you can also afford to mulligan pretty aggressively because the more you mulligan, the more cards they have to mill away. I don't like having these cards in my hand just because I'm probably not going to use them. We might, but I mean, it's not really the game plan we want to be executing. We're going to mulligan. This hand I like better. It does a little bit more. Thrun is going to put a quick clock on them. We'll keep this, we'll get rid of the cord. Alright, are they just passing the turn? Alright, they have a land. This is the new white channel land. It's pretty solid. Pretty good card. Alright, we drew a land. I think I mentioned this game 1, but we're going to hold our fetch lands as long as we can. We do not want to use them unless we absolutely have to. Prismatic Ending. Have a crab. I'm guessing they were lacking a blue source on turn 1. Otherwise they probably would have cast their crab turn 1. My third land is decent. We're going to start getting the beats in. If we could get a Grist as our next draw, that would be close to ideal. That's what we want. They're lacking a second blue source, I think, so they're not going to have Counterspell up. Could have something like Dovin's Veto, but it's not particularly relevant, especially given the context of what's in our hand. Okay, Field of Ruin. So I guess we're going to draw a Thoughtseize. Get a Forest. And I'm guessing we're getting trapped here. Or they just need a second blue source, one of the two. Okay, there's the trap. Here's another trap. Let's see how many endurance are in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 endurance are in our graveyard. Alright, so that out is no longer there. We need to operate very quickly. We have 24 cards left in our deck. They only have 1 card left in hand of note. pass the turn. Let's see what's happening here. It's pretty good, 2 Archive Traps, and that's why we don't like to search our deck. Alright, so we're down 6 cards. I think originally my plan was to play out Thrun first, but I'm actually going to cast the Yawgmoth now because I think we need to get these crabs off the board, and we still need to continue to deal damage to them. Ooh. That might change things. That puts them on a 3-turn clock. Let's see if we have a fetchable black source left in the deck. One Overgrown Tomb. Let me just make sure here. Overgrown Tomb 1. We still have an Overgrown Tomb, so we're actually going to search for it. I mean, if they draw any mill card, we're essentially just dead. So our game plan here is going to be cast Yawgmoth, next turn get Grist into play. Oh shit. Did I miss it? Okay. Well, I guess that changes things. Excuse my French. I only saw 1 in here. Is it Exile? No. 1. Oh, there they are. They're both there. Alright, so that was a big mistake. What I was saying was we were going to the aim was going to be to cast Yawgmoth this turn, -1 the Rune Crab, swing with the Geist. Next turn I would have cast Grist and proliferated, and then the following turn I would have been able to ultimate Grist. So I guess technically it's still the same clock, so we'll see. Alright, so they drew a land. We are down to 4 cards in our deck. So we have to hope they blank next turn. A land kills us. So they have to draw like a counter spell or something like that. And if they do, we win. And if they don't, we lose. Prismatic Ending would be a fine draw for them. Fine, meaning we're okay with that. Alright, 2 cards left in the deck. And we're going to cast Thrun here, just to put a chump blocker in the way. Alright, fingers crossed, let's see what they draw. Game of inches here. Alright, they got us. Alright, game 3. So that was close. That was close. Came down to a top deck at the end of the game. We're going to shave a card on the play here. I think I'm going to shave another Evolution. Not a big fan of the card against creature decks. Or against decks with counterspells. Obviously this is not a creature deck. I misspoke. We win the die roll, we will be on the play. This hand does nothing, so we will mulligan. This hand does something, so we will keep it. Once again, we're lacking a Grist, which I don't love, but we're gonna go with it. We're lacking, I am misspeaking left and right here. We are lacking endurance, so I don't love it, but what card do we ship? Oh no, we want that. I think we'll get rid of the Verdant. See if that was right or not. If they have a way to remove the Dryad Arbor, that will be really bad, but if not, assuming we don't draw another land. Wolf is pretty bad in this matchup. You know, any of their creatures can block it. Might even be right to board out 2 of them. But just because we're not really boarding out so many cards, it's, you know, gets to stay for combo potential. Usually this matchup is very favored. I'm a little nervous this game, as I don't think our hand is super strong. It's going to depend on whether or not we can stick one of these Grists and what the top of our deck looks like. So we shall see. It's very nerve-wracking. Alright, so they have a 0/3 blocker. Our Yawgmoth will do nothing. Alright, I'm going to play out Dryad Arbor and pass the turn. Once again, I don't want to fetch if I don't have to. Hoping they don't have removal for the Dryad Arbor. We shall see. The sooner we can get this Grist into play, the better. I'm more apt to fetch in this matchup if I have an Endurance in my hand. Alright, so that was a pretty good mill for them. So 1 Endurance down. Okay, rest in peace. Alright. So that's pretty strong. Our out to that is Beseiju. Alright, and I think we're gonna get rid of this crab here. Now that we're on a plan B. Endurance Grist. Try to slow them down a little bit. Alright, see how this goes. Rest in peace and Lars, not really much of a combo there, but I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. It's a good answer to Endurance. I wish there was like a clause where you could opt not to draw a card if you didn't want to. Alright, we're just gonna start to make an army of 1/1s and hopefully that's good enough to get there. Alright, so them stalling on lands is really good for us. And we're not going to use our fetch land unless we absolutely have to. It's right now 11, 7, 2. So they're on like a 4-turn clock. If they don't cast any creatures, there's a creature. Alright, so that hurts us. Hurts our ability to go fast here. Not ideal. We might lose this game. This doesn't feel good. We need some form of business, something there where we can power through this Sanctifier. Interesting. Yeah, we'll let that hit happen. That's fine. We could have killed the Sanctifier by double blocking with the Yawgmoth. I guess they have another one. Okay. Alright, so the question is, do we search our library for a card? Which is very risky given the fact they have 5 cards in their hand. If so, what do we get? An endurance, maybe? Endurance might be the best card. That's super risky though. They have a trap. So they have 45 cards left in their deck. They haven't really cast a lot of stuff up to this point in the game. So that's definitely happening. We've got 3 Yawgmoths exiled. Let's see, did I bring in... I did not bring in the Liberator. This is challenging. This is challenging. I feel like I need to do something as it stands, so I think we need to take a risk. I think they might have F6'd. So if they did, we're also gonna, I think, fetch once. Alright, so we're helping them out a little bit here, but we'll see what happens. Alright, so we got away with it. It was close. A little scary. So their Sanctifiers can't get through now, so we can build our army a little bit more so. We can start dealing some damage. So of note, these are exiles, not graveyards. Down. So what I'm looking for, I think our best draw right now is Thrun. Yeah, and I'll block this. guessing they have some form of counter magic in their hand. We'll see. 3 cards in their hand. Grist is likely biting the dust this turn. Yes, okay. Yeah, Rest in Peace is a strong card for them, for sure. It's definitely changes the dynamics of the matchup a little bit. Alright, they're bringing Loris into their hand. I have to think they have a counter spell in their hand. We'll see. There's Thrun. That's really big. That's big. So maybe a lucky draw, I'm not sure. But this guy is a house. Let's see if they can do anything about Mr. Thrun over here. We have 36 cards left in our library. They really haven't been pressuring our deck too much. They only cast 1 Fractured Sanity in the Rune Crab. Alright, so there's Loris. Let's see what they do here. Pausing for a moment. Silence. Not sure what they're doing here. Yeah, so typically in this matchup, when Rest in Peace is not a consideration, it's just a matter of getting an Endurance, casting it, recycling your graveyard, and then usually they can't mill through your entire deck 2 times before you have the ability to kill them. Sometimes it takes 2 Endurances, but having access to 4 in the deck typically goes a long way. Alright, this is interesting. I guess they've been holding on to that for a while and didn't really have a use for it. Wow, that's really good too. Yes, we're gonna try to fire that off, I think. Maybe we lead with an attack and see what they do and then go from there. But that could be really, really... Yeah, let's start with an attack and see what happens. So I have to think that they have some form of counter magic in their hand here. But I think maybe we lead with Grist. Maybe Grist is the right play. And get rid of the Endurance. Or get rid of the Luris. Okay. Yeah, so they do have that. They have 1 card left in hand. You're going to swing with at least Luris, I would think. Okay. Weird game. We're going to lead with Hierarch. Swing for 5. Now we're going to Crime Punishment for 2. I'm not exactly sure how this works with Rest in Peace in play. We'll find out. If they all go to the graveyard at the same time, I would hope they all get exiled at the same time. Okay. Alright, so it's beatdown versus beatdown. We have 34 cards left in our deck. We almost have more cards in our deck than they do. Run has been very, very good. He was a good top deck. Swinging for 5. I think they can only swing with lures here, because I think if they swing with both, they're basically committed to losing their Sanctifier, unless they have another creature that they drew, which it doesn't appear they did. Alright, that's a good draw. Sanctifier down. They're down to 2 life again. I think we're in good shape. This is so crazy. This game is nuts. I don't really have a lot to say about the board state because it hasn't really changed too much. The situation is pretty consistent. I mean, as long as they can't mill 33 cards out of our deck, I think we're okay. Which basically comes down to, do they draw Archive Traps or Tashas, I guess? Those are the cards that we need to be considerate of. Drew a counterspell? Okay, drew a counterspell. Geist. Okay, does that get us there? I think we attack with Thron. Post-combat play Geist. And then I think next turn we have them. As long as we're still alive. Make sure I did not F6. Okay, Laris is gone. Possibly. Okay, Laris is gone. Second main. Geist. And go from there. Maybe it was right to play the Geist pre-combat and attack with it as well. That might have been a better move. Runecraft, got it. Can you mill 32 cards from my library? You have a swamp. Probably should have left that in my library. That was a mistake. Alright, they scooped. That was that was a crazy match. I didn't think we were going to get there until we drew that Thrun. It was a really good top deck. We might have gotten a little lucky, but usually this matchup plays out in our favor. And personally, I learned something playing against this white splash, so we definitely want to have some artifact enchantment hate ready and available at a moment's notice for Rest in Peace, which is, it really changes the dynamic of the matchup. So very, very relevant to keep on our radar. So if you're watching, make sure you have that on your radar if you play against this version of the deck. And I will from now on. With that being said, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Brandon Osborne, aka Control for Days. If you have not done so already, subscribe, thumbs up, comment below. Let me know what I could have done better. If you've been watching and stuck around through this whole video and want to share that information with me, or tell me what you like, give me your thoughts on the matchup, whatever it might be. I thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you next time.